Welcome to part 2 of our 3-part Session 1 PowerPoint. At the end of this portion of our lecture, you'll find directions for an assignment. I encourage you to complete the assignment before going on to part 3 of our lecture. Part 2 of this lecture is guided by these essential questions. What is effective teaching, and how can we know that we are implementing the best methods of instruction for our students? Effective teaching is both an art and a science. The two are equally important, and we need both. Here are some of the most foundational elements of effective teaching. First, know your content area. Teachers have to know what they teach. Unless the teachers have mastered the content of their curriculum first, they will not be able to stay ahead of the student. Teachers need to know what they teach so that they are free to approach their content area from a variety of angles, to know how to simplify or distill the subject matter, and how to expand and connect the content to other academic domains. Teachers need to be able to deliver the full scope and sequence of their curriculum, and that ability has to be able to coast on a fluidity that comes with full knowledge and familiarity of a particular discipline. Now, this is not to dismiss the joy of exploring new things with students. In that, we get to model what it is to be surprised and delighted with the unexpected. But teachers must be able to anticipate every twist and turn of that exploration so that students can know where they're going and experience the satisfaction of mastery. Content areas are governed by facts, knowledge, and information that is supported by prior research. Teachers don't generally invent new knowledge. They deliver knowledge that has been tested, tried, and challenged through the process of scientific inquiry, so that they're able to deliver material that is as close to fact, as close to truth as possible. Instructional strategies are different. Teachers can invent those, and that's the fun part. Strategies are based upon theories of learning and comprehension that are influenced by scientists who have asked the same questions over and over again for generations. What is the best way to teach? For example, we will be talking about direct and constructivist approaches to instruction, and these approaches are based on theory and supported by evidence that is sufficient to assume that these approaches may be good for a majority of typically developing students. Teachers need to know their content so that they can choose what to teach and when to teach it. They need to determine what it will look like once a student has mastered the content. Expectations for learning outcomes are based on both fact and theory. Within our educational system, there are some outcomes that are mandated by local and national standards, and those standards are backed by research and statistical evidence that determine best ways to assess certain types of competencies. On the other hand, within the framework of those larger governing standards, you will have the freedom to choose to determine your own expectations for the content you teach in your classroom. You will decide what mastery looks like in the lessons you teach every day. This includes grading and point systems, rubrics, and learning goals. Effective teachers need to understand developmental stages. It's a fact that all children develop. All children grow and change through to adulthood, and the typical developmental continuum is based upon scientifically supported fact. Knowledge of these developmental stages will enable you to determine appropriate expectations for classroom behavior and procedures. Understanding developmental stages also helps you to know how to motivate and engage your students through age-appropriate activities and experiences that are motivating and challenging and relevant. Good communication skills are essential to effective teaching too. The student-teacher dynamic is a reciprocal process. The student and the teacher need each other in order to achieve learning objectives. It's the process of feedback, the delivery of instruction, and the student's response to that instruction that completes the cycle of communication in the classroom. And finally, effective teaching accommodates the needs and differences of everyone in the classroom. Teachers need to be comfortable being in relationship with all students and able to communicate, respect, and collaborate with staff who may have ideas that are different from their own. Being part of a fully engaged learning community includes being comfortable with individual and cultural differences. In order to be effective, teachers also need to be comfortable with technology, its changes, advances, and its pitfalls. Technology is not just about computers and electronic devices. Technology includes all tools that enable a teacher or a student to better access and process the content of any academic subject. That includes everything from smartboards to pencil grips, iPads to electric wheelchairs. If it's a tool and there's a method to using it, it's considered technology. And we have to get used to the rapid acceleration of the complex nature of technology. Today's new cool tool is tomorrow's toy, and last year's outdated model available for half price. Technology, however, will never replace the learner. We will always need a person behind the design of instruction. One of the most powerful elements of education, I believe, is relationship, and there is no online course that can be delivered successfully without the thoughtful touch of a teacher who cares about the student on the other side of the screen. Teachers need to be challenged to master technology because the world will not wait. They will need to compete with world-class standards and expectations in universities and in the marketplace. Students need to be exposed early and often so that they not only stay fluent with the changes over time, but learn how to manage technology with wisdom and restraint. Technology is a powerful tool, and it can become an idol if children do not learn to temper their fascination with it. Effective teaching requires good assessment skills. Teachers need to know what to measure, what type of data to collect, how to conduct a wide variety of formal and informal assessments, and how to connect assessment with an action plan. You've basically just been given a roadmap for all the wonderful things you're going to learn in your program here at Bethel. Effective teaching requires commitment and motivation. If you're going to be a motivator, you must be motivated. This has to be in your blood. The joy of learning and curiosity about mystery has to be in your DNA for you to be a happy teacher for the length of your career. No job can provide for you a perpetual source of vocational satisfaction. You seriously have to love this work beyond your classroom. You have to know that you're doing this work for a reason that is bigger than yourself, and that you're serving the cause that you are willing to lay your life down for. Being a teacher will require all that you have. It is not a 40-hour, 5-day-a-week job with a bi-monthly paycheck. It's a lifestyle. You will spend hours yard sailing for classroom supplies in the summer, and you will think of your students when you grocery shop. You will feel their pain and their sadness, and you will be angry when they get hurt or abused by peers or parents. You will go to their games and their graduations, and your own children will laugh at you because it's hard to stop being a teacher when you get home, and it's really hard to stop being a parent when you're at school. Motivation is equal to the cost plus the reward. If the cost is greater than the reward, you will have low motivation to persevere as a teacher. If you perceive the reward of being a teacher to be greater than the personal cost, you will find yourself a highly motivated and committed teacher. The same principle applies to our students in their roles as learners. The reward for learning has to exceed the cost in order for them to stay motivated. So how do we know when we're using effective teaching methods? Hopefully, you'll be using evidence-based practice. It's based on good science. Let's review again the difference between fact and theory. A fact is an objective, verifiable observation. It is the same everywhere. It can be and has been verified many times. Theory is a conceptual framework that explains existing facts and predicts new ones. So, for example, facts when tested remain the same, as in all children can and do learn. We know that for a fact. That can be tested over and over again, and it remains to be true. On the other hand, theories, when tested, often change. For example, how do children learn? That answer is constantly changing because technology advances, knowledge advances, research advances, and human ingenuity and the inspiration of God, I believe, continues to enable us to find new and better ways to reach and teach our kids. Our teaching methods should be backed by research. Educational research is carried out in a number of ways. One of those ways is descriptive research, and descriptive research asks questions like, what does this look like? How does this work? How is this best used? And under what conditions can we expect these results? Direct descriptive research is accomplished by investigation through observation, and this can be done either through naturalistic ways or through the employment of participants. In naturalistic descriptive research, the researcher is looking at the topic, the subject, or the research question from the outside in. It's in the real world, in real time, but the researcher is approaching and observing from an outsider's perspective. On the other hand, if the researcher approaches descriptive research as a participant, then that researcher is looking from the inside out. The researcher becomes one of the participants, becomes one of the people that they are actually studying. It's real world, real time, but this time the researcher has become part of the community or the culture or the people group that they are studying. So it can be done from the outside looking in or the inside looking out. As well, data can be collected through descriptive research in a variety of ways, through interview, assessment data, case studies, focus groups, and qualitative methods. Other types of research are correlational and experimental. Correlational research asks different questions. For example, what is the strength of the relationship between A and B? For example, qualification for free and reduced lunch and reading scores. Is there a relationship between students who qualify for free lunch and their reading scores by the end of 5th grade? Remember that correlation is not causation. Just because there is a relationship between A and B does not mean that A causes B. It simply means that there is a strong relationship with between the two. Experimental research asks, does A cause B? It is causal research. For example, does increased time during literacy blocks increase reading scores? So the independent variable, which would be time in literacy block, is manipulated and changed and maybe lengthened or shortened, eliminated or introduced for the first time. And then the dependent variable, which is the reading scores, are the things that we watch change. We see those reading scores either go up or down. In experimental research, we never claim our results as fact. We simply say that results imply the following conclusions. We know that any other researcher can come behind us and carry out our same research design and have different conclusions depending on the conditions under which the research was conducted. So we're continually on a search for the perfection of new theories. Over time, that's how theories become fact. Testing upon testing upon testing. And finally, action research. This is an interesting type of research that is exceptionally valuable to the field of teaching. Action research is carried out by teachers for teachers using controlled principles of scientific inquiry. When educational research is only carried out by professors and graduate assistants in universities who aren't actually in the trenches with you as teachers, how can we know if we're asking the right questions, and how can we know if we are in interpreting data and bringing best practices and new ideas and methods that are really going to be usable for you? We want to avoid something called the research to practice gap between what is produced and what's actually used in the classroom. That can be a costly wasteland for research dollars when new theories and new interventions and new ideas are brought to the forefront but then never actually carried out and used in the classroom. So action research is responsible for producing much of the evidence-based practices that we use in the classroom, meaning teachers use this idea, found it to work on most of their students, and it's worth trying again, which teachers do, and they try it over and over and over again. If the results continue to be favorable, we consider that evidence-based practice. It maybe has not survived the the furnace of scientific inquiry, where a hypothesis is tested over and over again with random samples from the general population. But when we have evidence over and over again of a certain method or practice working in the classroom, teachers want to know about that. So we have both evidence-based practice and scientific research-based practices. Teachers as researchers, if you ever are interested as a teacher in researching a certain theory or an idea, do it. There are a lot of easy and very classroom-friendly methodologies existing to serve you in that pursuit. There is a lot of large-scale research that never gets to you because it wasn't designed and presented in a way that teachers can consume it. So it's our interest to encourage you to if you ever feel so led, to help to bridge the research to practice gap. It is a major concern. You've come to the end of part 2 of our session 1 online narrated PowerPoint. I wanted to review our essential questions with you. We set out to look at what are the elements of effective teaching, and in what ways can we know that our teaching methods will work. We went through several slides talking about what effective teaching looks like, and we've looked at several ways that research is carried out to ensure that the methodologies that you are learning in your university setting and those methods taught through professional development in your school district are actually based on empirical evidence and scientifically sound principles of testing and reliability and validity. Next, on this next slide, you're going to be instructed to go through an assignment that will introduce a video and a brief written assignment. So I will encourage you here to continue on and do that assignment while the content from this second part of this PowerPoint is still fresh in your mind. So carry on, and I hope you enjoy it. It's a great piece of work. This is the challenging teacher's assignment. You're about to watch a series of short interviews from teachers and students in the video link below this paragraph. Before you watch the video, I want you to consider the questions you'll be asked to answer when the video is over. It's important that you look at these first so that you know what to watch for and listen for as you're watching the video. What do teachers want? What do students want? And do teachers and students want the same things? I'm keeping these questions really simple because I want to leave them to your own interpretation as you watch this video. I'd like you to provide a brief paragraph in response to each question. No more than 600 words total for the entire assignment. That's not 600 words for each paragraph, but no more than 600 words for the entire written assignment. And then submit your responses to the Dropbox in our course Moodle site. Thank you very much. Enjoy.